between Europe and Asia, economic dialogue, humanitarian missions, multi-vector operating and the search for compromises in the world arena. How else does Kazakhstan participate in the development of modern world? For more details, watch the program Kazakhstan International Vectors. Today you will find out how Kazakhstan has become a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council. What initiatives Kazakhstan proposes to address transnational security issues in the country, in the region and worldwide? And what can the world's population do to improve the quality of life? The website of the UN Security Council meets readers with the slogan "Welcome to the United Nations, it's your world." And this is indeed a whole world consisting of the General Assembly, the Secretariat, the International Court of Justice, the Economic and Social Council, the Trusteeship Council, the United Nations Postal Administration and many other specialized agencies. The most important body is the Security Council, which has the primary responsibility for maintaining international peace, and all members of the United Nations must obey its decisions. In the United Nations structure, the main institute, or rather the main element, is the Security Council, which is, so to say, the place where global politics is being created. In general, this is the main goal of the United Nations Security Council, to do everything possible in order to preserve peace on this planet, and this activity is fully and logically shown in the everyday work of the Security Council. As everybody knows, there are 5 permanent members of this organization. Apart from that, there are always known permanent members being elected for a 2-year term. The UN Security Council includes 5 permanent members with the right of veto: China, Russia, Great Britain, the United States and France. The 10 non-permanent members being elected for a 2-year term include Bolivia, Egypt, Italy, Senegal, Ukraine, Uruguay, Sweden, Ethiopia, Japan and, since the year 2017, Republic of Kazakhstan. These non-permanent members of the Security Council, which are logically also representatives of different regions of the world, such as Asia, Africa, Europe, America, they reflect the corresponding dynamics of the 21st century, considering what we are talking about. Non-permanent members of the Security Council do not speak only on behalf of themselves, they also, to a certain extent, depending on certain diplomatic negotiations, reflect the interests of countries and regions. Kazakhstan, of course, first of all reflects its own vision on important issues that must be resolved in the Security Council on behalf of the Republic of Kazakhstan. But Kazakhstan also reflects the interests of countries of the Central Asian region. What is the essence of the UN Security Council's peacekeeping activities? First of all, there are various sanctions against states that violate the world order. Secondly, the introduction of peacekeeping forces into conflict zones. And thirdly, the organization of a post-conflict settlement. One of the most important roles of non-permanent members of the Security Council is to be a bridge between the various members of the Security Council at a time when a reflection of different views on important events in the world appears that are, of course, should be resolved within the Security Council. Events in Syria, conflicts, you understand that there are different readings of the situation in Syria at the level of different states, including, first of all, the countries that are permanent members of the UN Security Council. The UN peacekeeping activity has begun in the era of the Cold War. These were the hard times of uncompromising decisions. Due to irreconcilable differences of parties, the Security Council's activities has been repeatedly interrupted. The first peacekeeping operation of this body contributed to the strengthening of stability in the Middle East. Then, a group of UN military observers has been sent to India and Pakistan. Today, the United Nations Department of Peacekeeping Operations conducts 16 peacekeeping operations worldwide. Since 1948, the United Nations has carried out 69 peacekeeping operations, which involved military, police and other civilian personnel from more than 120 countries. However, it is important to understand that the UN Security Council is a regularly functioning political body designed to solve problems of global security, first of all through diplomatic channels. Indeed, according to its charter, the United Nations has 4 main objectives: support of international peace and security, development of friendly relations among nations, cooperation in resolving international problems, and acting as a center for coordinating the actions of nations. United Nations Security Council deals with such complicated issues which arise promptly, unexpectedly, such as today we have an issue with the chemical attack in Syria and some others. So this is of course a question which is needed to be discussed, and questions alike, they should be discussed on a long-term basis. Taking this into account, Kazakhstan, being a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, has an opportunity to take part in these discussions and to form in general the agenda.
Принимать участие.
Kazakhstan is the first state of Central Asia elected as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council for a period of 2017-2018. This is undoubtedly a great victory of domestic diplomats and a decisive step towards strengthening the international authority of our country.
Что дает это Казахстану?
What does it give to Kazakhstan? This gives the country an opportunity to participate in global politics directly through the Security Council, because the Security Council is the body which solves all current and principled issues of the global politics. That is, Kazakhstan, being a member of the Security Council, as well as the other 15 member states, Kazakhstan has the opportunity to participate in the formation of the agenda of the Security Council. This gives our country the opportunity to combine the solution of its national issues and the solution of global problems, or rather the solution of national issues through solving global issues.
Одно из 15 государств.
Election of Kazakhstan in the UN Security Council is a sign of recognition of the international merits of the Republic, first of all of the President Nursultan Nazarbayev. In turbulent conditions of global transformation, Kazakhstan is rightfully considered as an important element of the world security system. Kazakhstan has a well-defined foreign policy. There are constructive confidential relations with all countries of the world. Despite the difficult economic situation in the world, Kazakhstan has become the first country in Central Asia to donate humanitarian aid to developing countries. Kazakhstan provided humanitarian assistance not only to the countries of Central Asia, but also to the countries of Africa and, for example, the Caribbean. What are the merits of our country and our people allowed this event to happen? The most important is the unique initiative of the Republic of Kazakhstan to end nuclear testing. On the 29th of August in 1991, the country closed the Semipalatinsk nuclear test site. And since 2010, this day is recognized as the International Day Against Nuclear Tests. If talking about nuclear safety, then of course Kazakhstan has made a great contribution to ensuring nuclear safety on a global scale, because Kazakhstan, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, remained with nuclear weapons and the means of delivering nuclear weapons through its territory. The Republic agreed that nuclear weapons needed to be transported to the Russian Federation. Nursultan Nazarbayev became the first leader in history to voluntarily renounce the nuclear arsenal of more than 1,000 nuclear warheads. Since then, Kazakhstan has been a nuclear weapon-free zone, and 5 nuclear powers have guaranteed the non-use of this terrible weapon against our country. In fact, Kazakhstan was a nuclear power, but the country refused this status, and it has become a nuclear-free state, but in exchange for guarantees of its national security, territorial integrity and other issues. That is, Kazakhstan has made a huge contribution to nuclear safety on a global scale. But nuclear security requires constant efforts, and Kazakhstan is always at the center of attention. Kazakhstan keeps this nuclear security in the center of attention. Another merit of our country and the president was the creation of a global anti-nuclear project, ATOM. The message of President Nursultan Nazarbayev to the peoples of the world with the call to give up nuclear weapons was signed by hundreds of thousands of people, and the Republic of Kazakhstan headed the international anti-nuclear movement. In 1994, Kazakhstan handed over its nuclear weapons and delivery vehicles that were on this territory, handed over to the Russian Federation, and signed the Budapest Memorandum. When the problem of Iran's nuclear program was solved, experts and politicians gathered here in Almaty repeatedly to solve this nuclear problem, which in 2015 was finally solved. In other words, Kazakhstan has great merits in resolving nuclear safety on a global and regional scale.
В 2015 году
Another peculiarity of our country is the absence of interethnic and interconfessional conflicts, although the representatives of 125 nations and nationalities of different religions live in Kazakhstan. The President of the Republic, for the first time in modern history, has gathered at the same table the leaders of all world religions in order to build the long-awaited global interconfessional dialogue. Kazakhstan successfully coped with the role of the head of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, raising its authority in the field of settling international disputes and conflicts. Kazakhstan actually offers its experience, its multi-vector international policy, provides a platform for negotiations and the opportunity to resolve peacefully a complex conflict that has been troubling the world for many years. This is not only a question of Syria, it affects the lives of many countries, the flow of migrants, visa-related issues, simply with the existence of terrorism and so on. And in the immediate order, here goes also humanitarian issues, the human right. Kazakhstan is the initiator of important integration processes on the Eurasian continent, the creation of the EEC, the revival of the Great Silk Road, the manifesto of Nursultan Nazarbayev called Peace 21st Century. The president has presented humanity with a new paradigm of the global world order, having received the status of an official document of the General Assembly and the UN Security Council. How do the global UN programs related to the security and peaceful life of all people on the planet cover the inhabitants of individual regions and countries? For example, the problem of fresh water, which is one of the main threats to humanity in the 21st century. The problem of water security is a very urgent issue. According to the latest UN data, about 1 billion people do not have access to drinking water. Thus, the UN links the problem of drinking water to such problems as health and human rights, which require close attention of the community. Kazakhstan, as a responsible member of the international community, also recognizes the right of access to drinking water for all citizens of the world. During the years of independence, our country has done much to solve the problems of water supply. Programs like Drinking Water, Akbulag, State Program of Water Resources Management of the Republic of Kazakhstan have been adopted. The strategy Kazakhstan 2050 clearly outlines main stages of practical actions to address water supply problems in the country. By 2020, to solve the problem of drinking water supply. By 2040, to deal with watering in agriculture. And by 2050, to close the issue of water supply in all spheres of life. In order to take constructive part in strengthening security in the world on the one hand, and on the other hand to ensure the integration of national interests and to promote Kazakhstan's foreign policy initiatives by establishing cooperation between regional and international organizations, Kazakhstan has identified main priorities for the activities in the UN Security Council. These are nuclear, food, water and energy security. Kazakhstan, of course, is energy self-sufficient. We have large oil reserves. We have an energy infrastructure in our country. Kazakhstan does not lack this. In general, Kazakhstan does not belong to the regions where this problem goes on the first place. But Kazakhstan again puts this problem globally through the Security Council. But there are huge regions, huge parts of the globe where the problem of energy supply remains. They are very acute. For example, in many African countries there is no electricity. In the field of water security, the Republic of Kazakhstan pursues a policy of uniting the states of Central Asia for the joint rational use of water and energy resources. The fact is that countries of the region are divided into two categories, the lower and the upper water flows. Thus, conflicts for water are quite probable. For example, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan intend to build new hydropower stations at Sirdarya and Amudarya rivers, while Uzbekistan states that it will not allow this happen. Undoubtedly, the voice of Kazakhstan as the representative of the entire region of Asia and the Pacific will become a weighty argument in favor of a peaceful resolution of political problem. Kazakhstan occupies the main part of the Central Asian region. Therefore, we are dependent on the solution of our water problems from Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan and China. Therefore, of course, Kazakhstan is interested in that not only Central Asia belongs to such regions, but other regions in the modern world that are experiencing these problems with water resources.
Не только
With regard to food security, Kazakhstan, as one of the largest exporters of grain and flour in the world, is taking a number of important political steps. For example, not so long ago, President Nursultan Nazarbayev invited the member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to develop a system of food self-help, involving in this reasonable strategy the countries of North Africa and the Middle East. With the active participation of the countries of the European and Eurasian Unions, it is possible to reduce significantly the social and migration tensions in the region. So, basically, it is in principle what actually falls into main goals of work of the UN Security Council and decisions it takes in order to regulate in a natural manner different complicated issues. So in this very moment we can see the role of the Republic of Kazakhstan acting as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council. In principle, over the 2 years of operating in the Security Council, Kazakhstan will be able to play a significant role in this organization. As a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council in 2017-2018, Kazakhstan will pay special attention to combating poverty, respect for human rights, strengthening confidence and building a dialogue between nations. It is also proposed to implement measures to combat terrorism, religious extremism, drug trafficking and illegal migration. Great importance will be attached to regional cooperation in Central Asia. Kazakhstan's performance in the UN Security Council gives us the opportunity to promote our national interests, strengthen our position in solving international problems, and also gives an opportunity to draw attention to our region of Central Asia. This also assists in the promotion of our economic interests. First of all, this is the investment attractiveness of our country and, in general, the recognition of Kazakhstan in the world. Kazakhstan also plans to influence as a mediator peacekeeper on the prompt settlement of military conflicts and crises, for example, the Ukrainian and Syrian. A number of states are involved in the Syrian conflict today. They are Russia, Iran, Turkey and other countries of the Arab world. Therefore, this is a complicated problem, and Kazakhstan has offered its platform, the city of Astana, in order to solve this problem. And I must say, there are certain achievements. They are connected with the fact that in these negotiations, in January, in February, practically all parts participated. This is exactly the contribution of Kazakhstan as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council in ensuring the global security.
И надо сказать,
A 2-year stay of the Republic of Kazakhstan in the UN Security Council is a serious chance to become a truly influential state, forming an international policy while remaining the recognized leader of the whole Eurasia. Membership in the UN Security Council is the recognition of the international authority of the country, of its role in solving international global problems. The work in the Security Council also provides an opportunity for the access to the development of resolutions and decisions important for the world community. Kazakhstan's membership in the UN Security Council gives us an opportunity to highlight the peacekeeping, anti-nuclear, anti-terrorist initiatives of the head of our state. His vision of the modern world are set forth in the manifesto The World of the 21st Century. We also get an opportunity to develop our relationships with permanent and non-permanent members of the UN and other countries of the organization. In the village of Arnasai, Akmola region, the water supply was set from only one drinking well. The lack of water meant the lack of soil watering, low yields and reduction of vegetable gardens. The public representatives asked for help to the United Nations Development Program. In the framework of the global project, each drop is important, a process was launched in the village to introduce drip irrigation. With new equipment costing $180 per plot, the villagers are able to save up to 50% of drinking water. The yield has increased by 2.5 times, the quality of weeds decreased, the process of irrigation itself has been simplified. This story, as well as dozens of other examples of the introduction of drip irrigation in our country and in the world, shows how easily global UN programs adapt to the needs of farmers. Each of us is able to find the necessary information and act decisively in the interests of the whole community and personal economy.